Hey, it's Rob. Welcome to Axel's Garage. Alright, if you remember Wanda here, the other 2000 XJ that we have, the other gray 2000 XJ, the other identical twin for the twins, when we bought it, we had trouble getting it started, and it took us 3 weeks going back and forth to the guy that we were buying it from, and it was a lazy starter that we wound up beating the crap out of with a hammer, and it started. And that starter's been working for a couple of months now. Although every time you start it, it's a very labored start, and I mean, like, you think the battery's dead, and the battery's not dead. It's just the starter is so corroded on the inside. I believe that's what it is, because banging the entire shell, not the solenoid, it was the shell that we had to bang to loosen it all up. Finally got to the point where it's really struggling. Now, the guy we bought this Jeep from, he had a set of brake pads in the back, and he had a starter in the back, brand new in the box. Well, the starter's a reman, but it was new in the box. And there was a reason for that, because the starter was going and the brakes were shot. So we used those brake pads temporarily until we do the whole brake system over. But the starter finally bit the dust, and we're going to throw a starter in and take you along. I'm going to disconnect the battery first, because the first starter I ever did, I was 16 years old. My father had an old Coupe de Ville. Go to put the starter in, and I'm underneath in the dark with a little flashlight, putting the starter in. Didn't disconnect the battery, grounded out the positive from the starter to one of the fuel lines, and had a small fire that scared the living daylights out of me. So from then on, I always disconnect the battery before I put a starter in. So down here at the battery, these are usually 1/2 inch, but everyone is different on this thing. So 12 millimeter seems to be fairly snug. Loosen it up a little bit. This giant cable here is a temporary ground that we fixed. You know how temporary goes. And then I'll just take a little flat blade screwdriver in there and try to separate a little bit. These terminals have been beat to shit over the years. I'm going to grab it over here, give it a little twisty action. And it came off pretty good. It looks like the terminal end is like got some corrosion in there, but it doesn't even like split open all the way. These are just old and cruddy and beat up. Here's the old ground that fell off on the way home on the maiden voyage back in the first video of this Jeep. But we'll leave these guys here because we'll need them later when we put that back on. I'm going to flap this over there so it doesn't make any contact with the negative, and we're good. We can go into the car. So looking at the new starter here, pretty small. You got a electrical connection, which is a plug with a little grabby dicky there, a little clip on it, so probably have to depress something to unplug it. And then you got your power wire coming down from your battery, and that's going to be a 1/2 inch fit on that. The bolts, kind of a unique thing. One threads in this way and one threads in, so when this thing goes in, what direction? It's in this way. Like this, there's a bolt that's going to be on this side coming in that way, and then another bolt that's going to be going that way. And you'll see when we get down there. I believe they're 14 millimeter. We got a 9/16, a couple of 14s, a 1/2 inch wrench. Hopefully I only have to crawl in and out once. We'll see. So down underneath, just below the oil filter, right, is your starter. Right up here, there's my finger. I don't even see it. Right up here, that's where your positive battery connection is. That's your start plug back there. And then you got your one bolt over here that goes in forward. Hit the button by mistake. Then on the back side, way up there. Why can't I find it in the screen? back side. Up over there is the other bolt. Alright, so there's usually enough slack in that where I could take the starter down first and then unplug the electrical connections. You see how you can follow the loom going around. So hopefully that'll work out. Let me get that out. I can't do it with the camera in my hand. Don't have a cameraman right now. So let's see what happens. Okay, well, the bottom bolt was a 14mm socket. The top bolt that went in through the back was a 15mm. And the battery cable, can you see the battery cable? Battery cable right there was the 1/2 inch. And then the wire harness has got that little red locking tab, so you got to pull that up with a little screwdriver, and then that's how it locks in. And you can see mine is all filled with scourge. So what I'm going to do is, there's a lot of grease here. I wiped some down with a wet rag. I'm going to have to get some solvent, but look at the starter. Look at the scourge, the sludge I should say, from leaking oil over the years. It was real tough to even unplug the wiring harness, only because I had to chip away all the oil. And I mean, look at this, right? I had to chip away all that was around this. It was just a big glob. So I'm laying in this crap. Tried to make a neat job, and now I'm filthy. But I'm going to clean up some of this area here while I got it out, and then we'll put the new one in, and I'm going to get some contact cleaner for that, and I'm going to spray that out really good as well. I think brake clean is going to be the solvent of choice right now. Let me move the camera so I don't cover it. That and gunk and brake clean also. Be with you in a second or two. Alright, so I got the starter laying up in between the transmission, the oil pan, and the tranny cooling line so I could get the connections on. So I reused the factory nut because it was a lot beefier enough than the one that came with the remade starter. Got that nice and snug on there. Clean this out. You could see in there. Look at that. You can actually see it now. Still a little bit of sludge on there, but for the most part you could see everything. So now this, not very good at this without a cameraman, but this will slide in nice, and then you push in that red locking tab, which apparently I cannot do with one hand. Let me try it again. Ugh. Should be in, that's out. Okay, I can do it one hit, and that's in. Alright, and then I'm just going to put the starter up, and I'll get the bolts started. A little bit of white lube on the bolts. Why? Oh, to make it easier for the next guy, because the next guy, yeah, he may very well be you. Got it back in, got the bolts stubbed up, wire harness plugged in nice, got all this grease cleaned up. I got chunks of it in my ears, all over the place. I'm completely filthy with all this sludge that was just attracted to the bottom. You could see it over there, right? And then look how much I had to clean off. I used about a can of brake cleaner cleaning this whole area down. But hopefully the oil, whatever's leaking, where it's leaking from, whatever, it's oil. I don't know if it was just a leaky filter over the years or what the deal was, but little by little as we do stuff, we'll clean it up. Let me crawl out from under here and get myself cleaned off. All right. I got completely filthy. It was a disgusting mess under there. You shouldn't, I mean, laying on the floor, you're going to get dirty, but just the chunks of sludge coming off the side of the engine and the starter and everywhere. I had to change my shirt, wash down. I had that shit everywhere. So anyway, we got the battery hooked back up again. And now hopefully this thing will start up without any issue. I don't know how much we killed the battery when the starter went bad last night. Well, that sounds a hell of a lot better. I'm going to say mission accomplished. Oh, I got a truck pulling up. I'm hoping that's a part for the Suburban so we can get that working again. So we got this working. hopefully we'll get the Suburban working, and we'll have a couple cars that work, because this week has just been a disaster with cars breaking down. Anyway, starter in Wanda, pretty easy. You know, a lot of cleaning. I used a can of brake clean and a bunch of rags just to get all that area clean. I think it's just neglect. The reason why so much over the 21 years that this thing has been on the road, it's just been neglected and dripping oil. Nothing's ever been wiped off. Nothing's ever really been changed. I don't know how much the oil was ever changed. That starter was probably original. But we're on our way. Little by little, we're getting parts changed on this thing, and Steven will be tooling around in it in no time. In the meantime, I've been driving it, Michelle's been driving it, and we're just making sure it's all running good and trying to work out any kinks so that Steven, as a new driver, doesn't start breaking down with it, because that just would discourage his whole driving thing. I want him to be confident while he's driving. That's it today from Axel's Garage. Comments down below, and as always, thanks for watching.